Okay. Hello, everyone. We will get started. Thank you for coming to today's presentation. My name is Ernestina. I am one of the graduate assistants here at Dornside First Year Advising. And today we will be going over the pre-presentation session. We will be covering different topics that will be necessary in order to be prepared once you visit your academic advisor for pre-registration advising. Today's session will be led by our two graduate assistants, Isis and Sienna, and they will be going over all of the information that will be needed for the upcoming registration period. If throughout the session you have any questions that come up, you are able to write them down in the Q&A portion that's located at the bottom of the Zoom bar. At the end of the presentation, we will be answering all of the questions that were brought up during our Q&A portion of the session. Lastly, throughout the presentation, we will also be giving out helpful handouts via the chat, so please do keep an eye out for those as well. Without further ado, Isis and Sienna, please take it away.
All right. Thank you so much, Ernestina.
Thank you.
Here we go. So welcome to the pre-registration information session.
Okay, so before we get started, we just want to give everyone a quick overview of the different topics that we'll be discussing throughout today's presentation. So we'll be covering pre-registration advising, how to find your first year advisor, preparing for pre-registration advising. We'll be discussing holds, web registration, as well as placement exam info.
So to start out, what is pre-registration advising? So pre-registration advising is basically what it sounds like. It's advising that you do before you register for your upcoming semester. And why is pre-registration advising important? It's one of the main things we do here at USC to ensure that everyone is registering for the proper classes in the upcoming semester so that we're all on track to graduate and fulfilling our requirements. And when should you schedule an appointment? Essentially, in the weeks leading up to registration, your advisor will send out emails and information telling you when you need to schedule your pre-registration advising appointment. These appointments are mandatory, so be sure to look out for your advisor's emails and follow their instructions to find their availability.
Okay, so moving on, who is my first year advisor? So to find your first year advisor, if you aren't sure who they are already, you can visit this website, Meet the FYA Team. So here you'll be able to find your FYA advisor based on either your major cluster and your last name. Please note that it is based alphabetical order last name, not first name. So if you're unsure which cluster your major falls under, you can visit the link listed down there. And to the left, we have an example of how the FYA website does look like. So here's one of our FYA advisors. You can see their title, the department that they work with. Again, Siobhan Littlejohn, for example, works with the natural sciences, and then last names A through G. So if you're a natural science major and your last name ends with an A through G, Siobhan would be your advisor.
So next, how to schedule an appointment. So there are two paths. Essentially, everyone schedules appointments through our new appointment system, Advise USC. Now you can find that by going first to the USC Dornsife Undergraduate Academic Advising webpage. And then we have a link right here on the Meet the FYA Team page, the same page that Isis was talking about. Or you could just navigate straight to Advise USC at usc.edu/advise.
Okay, so how do we actually schedule an appointment with our advisor? First, we have to go to this link, usc.edu/advise. Once you click on that link or you type that link, you'll be prompted to input your USC login credentials, and then you can sign in. So once you sign in, you'll be taken to this Advise USC main page, and then you'll click on Schedule an Appointment. From here, you'll be prompted to click on your advisor's name.
Next, you will be prompted to select a topic and a subtopic. So this is important. In order for the appointment to be for pre-registration advising, the topic will be undergraduate advice. You can see it here on the bottom of the topics list. And then the subtopic, you would choose mandatory advising.
So moving on, you'll select your desired appointment date and time with the advisor you wish to meet with, so your advisor. Then you'll click on Choose to select your appointment type. From here, you'll input the reason for your appointment through the additional notes field. And then once you've typed that in, you can click Submit Request to reserve your appointment. So please make sure that you are checking your USC email account to make sure you've received a confirmation email. If you haven't received a confirmation email, then the appointment hasn't been scheduled.
Yes. And also a note to make sure you check the meeting location. So some meetings can be in person in the office, others are on Zoom, and that will impact the advisor's availability on what dates and times you're looking for. So when you hit to schedule the appointment, you will get this confirmation page. And again, be sure to check your USC email for your confirmation.
So prior to your actual pre-registration advising appointment, we highly recommend that you go ahead and review your STARS report. So you'll be able to find your STARS report by logging on to My USC, then clicking Oasis and STARS report. We have a screenshot of that to the left here. So what is the STARS report? The STARS report is essentially a compilation of a student's academic progress toward your degree or degree completion for your declared major and minors. So what are some things that you'll see on the STARS report? Again, you'll see any completed or incomplete degree requirements, anything that's currently in progress, any outstanding degree requirements. You'll see how many units you need to complete to finish your degree or degrees. You'll be able to also find your GPA on here and any coursework transferred in, as well as much more details.
So reading your STARS report. At first, the STARS report can look really busy, really intimidating, a lot of different text, but it's pretty simple and we can break it down for you. So zooming in on this text up at the top, this is essentially the header of the STARS report with a key that says the blue text in the STARS report identifies the degree requirements completed. So things that are done, you checked off that box. The red text in the report highlights the outstanding requirements needed in order to graduate. So anything that's red, there's still something that needs to be done to check off that box. Down here at the bottom, we can see this first red category is no, a minimum of 128 units is required for degree completion. So that means, nope, you have not finished 128 units, and this will actually still stay red until you are ready to graduate, until you finish your degree. It's the first thing on your STARS report, kind of the overview of how many units you've taken and whether you've reached that bar yet.
So moving on to the next section of your STARS report, if we look at this first part at the top, this shows the progress toward your upper division requirements. This requirement will vary according to your major or majors. And then this specific example that we have is also in red, meaning that it is not yet completed. You'll actually see that nothing has been completed yet, and this specific person needs to complete 32 units of upper div work to be able to earn their degree. So moving on to that second section, this is after matriculation at Dornsife. You'll see that a minimum of 64 units needs to be earned while in residence here at USC. So the second section highlighted shows this example. So for the STARS report, again, this is still in progress. So this requirement is showing up in red. And then this last section highlighted spotlights the Dornsife unit requirement, meaning that 104 units or 96 units for students who are completing a second or an additional minor or a second bachelor's degree applicable to the degree has to be earned in order to be able to graduate. So again, this is in red, meaning that this section still needs to be required. They still need to complete 72 units to fulfill this requirement.
Okay. So the next thing that you can do to help prepare for your pre-registration advising appointment is to review your holds. So again, navigating to MyUSC and Oasis, here on the left, we would click on the restrictions category. And so this will show you any holds impacting your ability to register for classes during your appointment time. So it's really important to review those holds ahead of time so that when you have that meeting with your advisor, you could discuss them and try to resolve them before your date. And if you have not met with your advisor, you may have an advising hold. So this is why we say that the pre-registration advising is mandatory, because there is an advising hold that you need to get checked off that says, yes, I did advising, I had an appointment with my advisor, an advisor reviewed this schedule, essentially. And then once you meet with your advisor, they will lift your advising hold. And if you don't have any other holds, you will be able to register.
Okay, so what exactly are some topics that you can cover during your advisement meeting? So here we have a compilation of different questions that you can prepare to ask your advisor during your meetings. So one, do I have any holes that are restricting registration, like Sienna mentioned earlier? And if you do, what are the process for resolving them? How many units do you need to complete for the degree requirement? If you're interested in any additional major or minor, who you can get in contact with and what the process might be to add those. How can you get involved with different clubs and extracurriculars at USC? You can also ask what all the courses displayed on the STARS report means, or just more additional information about what the STARS report is. And then last, are your transfer coursework reflected on the STARS report? And if not, what is the process to resolve this?
So let's move on to talking about registration. So where can you find this registration date and time? So every student gets assigned a specific date and time when your ability to register for next semester unlocks. This is separate from the appointment that you make with your advisor. This is called your permit to register. So again, you would go to Oasis in MyUSC and go all the way to the bottom, permit to register. And essentially what that means is once you've met with your advisor, this is the date and time that you will be able to hit checkout and register for your classes. And you can continue to make changes and register for different things after that point. It's just the first moment that you can check out and register.
Okay, so moving on to how to actually use web registration. So first, in order to actually access WebReg, you'll first navigate to MyUSC, and then you can click on that web registration widget. So once you click on that, you might first get a notice. If it's not yet your time to register, you'll get a notice saying that you still have to wait to register for your classes. You'll also be told just generally if you have any other holds on your account. So once you click through that, here we have spring 2023 classes, but we'll all be looking for fall 2024 classes. And then we'll click on that section. It'll show a lot of different departments that we have at USC, not just Dornsife. But for our purposes, we'll mainly be working within Dornsife College of Letters, Arts, and Sciences, as well as the GE requirements for students beginning college in fall 2015 or later. Please make sure you're clicking on this tab specifically. If you notice, there are two tabs named very similarly. Again, we want to make sure we're clicking on the one that says in fall 2015 or later. Once we click on either of these tabs, you'll see all the different academic departments, all the different courses offered by those departments. If you feel like you're stuck on web registration, that's definitely something that you can ask your advisor during your advisement appointment as well.
Great. So continuing with our web registration tutorial, what do the different types of classes mean? So right now we have a screenshot of Econ 203 as an example. And you can see under the type, there's a bunch of different sections of this class, and we have both lectures and discussions. So in this case, you would need to register for one of each, for a lecture and a discussion. For some other classes, sometimes there will be lab sections, sometimes there will be quiz sections, and generally you do need to register for one of each type for a course in order to be getting all of the course material. But specifically, you should also note that the lecture and discussions beneath it go together. So you'd want, if you're registering for this first lecture, you'd want to pick one of the discussions beneath it and not one of the discussions below the other lectures. So you can pick any of those discussions that match your time or work with your schedule as long as they are connected to the lecture above it.
Okay, so moving on, once you go through the different list of classes, you may notice that there are different types of courses. If we look at that section specifically, you'll notice that some sections end with an R, while some sections end with a D. So when a course ends with a D, that means that that specific section or that specific class is being restricted by the department that offers that class, and they're requiring you to get permission from the department before you're actually able to register for the course. So if it ends with an R, that means anyone is free to enroll in that class. You don't need to get permission beforehand. Please note there are lots of different reasons why a department might set that D clearance in place. The actual process for getting D clearance might vary from department to department. In some cases, you may have to fill out a form. Sometimes you need to make a phone call. Sometimes you need to send out an email. A lot of times the actual process for requesting D clearance is actually listed on top of the web registration page. If it's not listed there, you can always reach out to your advisor for more information. So once you actually go through the process of requesting D clearance, you'll actually be able to see if you were granted D clearance by navigating to web registration. Then you'll click on the My Info tab and you'll select the Clear Sections option. So if you've been granted D clearance by department, you'll see all the different D clearances you've gotten there. So if you don't see D clearance, it might be best to follow up with your advisor to ask what the process might be, or you can follow up to whatever email you reached out to initially to get more information on that.
Okay, so another feature on web registration is the My Calendar tab. So up at the top menu bar of web registration, you'll see My Calendar. And what this will do is it'll display all of the courses you have in your course bin on a calendar. So that way you can see any potential time conflicts, such as these classes in red, and just get a visual overview of what your weekly schedule would look like. This is a great tool for planning out your classes and your upcoming semester. And it's also important to note that everything will be yellow or red until you actually check out and register for your classes. When you have successfully registered for your next semester of classes, everything should be green. And that's a good way to double check that you registered successfully, is that the calendar is all green.
Okay, so moving on, we're now going to do a quick overview of placement exams. So there are 3 different placement exams that students can take once you get to USC. Usually they are part of orientation, but just because you didn't take them during orientation doesn't mean you still can't do so. So if you look to the left, you'll see lots of different information about placement exams. If you are unsure what different placement exams are being offered, you can click on the link that we've attached to get more information. Please note that all the different placement exams, that is foreign language, math, and chemistry exams, are all offered by the language department at USC. And then if we look to the right, language at USC events, you'll be able to see all the different dates for placement exams. Again, if you didn't take them during orientation, you still have a chance to take them. Please note that there is a 6-month waiting period to retake an exam. Also, if you are someone who needs OSAS accommodations, you do need to request those accommodations 2 weeks prior to actually taking your exams.
So non-language testing is also conducted by Language at USC. So on the same website, you will find the tab for non-language testing. Mainly that's math and chemistry placement exams. So you might need to take a math or a chemistry placement exam to determine what starting level of math or chemistry you'll take. This is especially important for STEM majors and majors where you might have prerequisites in math and chemistry. And so this would determine your starting level. And again, it's a good idea to complete these placement exams prior to registration so that you already know what level you're starting out in and have your permission to register in that course.
Okay, another thing to keep in mind, foreign language exams are taken in person while math and chemistry exams are taken online. So again, this is actually what the Language at USC page looks like. Again, you'll be able to see all the different dates for the different exams. Exams usually take approximately 10 days to get a score back to you. And then it's important to keep in mind that your foreign language scores are valid for 1 year. Your chemistry scores are valid for 2 years, and your math scores don't expire.
So here's a sample fall semester schedule. Um, you can see uh, on the right here, we have a basic 16 unit schedule. We aim for about 16 units per semester. That's considered a regular full course load. And we like to balance general education requirements with the major requirements. So basically two general education classes, including foreign language, and two major requirement classes. So do note that the foreign language requirement needs to be completed before you finish 64 units here at USC. So there is a time limit, and if you exceed that time limit, that is one of the registration holds that can appear on your account that would need to be resolved prior to registration. So just make sure you're keeping an eye on that and completing the up to level 3 of your foreign language in time. You will be able to discuss your spring course plan in more detail during your advisement appointment with your advisor. And we do have sample course plans on our website if you want to look over that prior to your meeting.